Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Hope you're doing absolutely fine. In our last video, we talked about introduction to Agile, some basics of Agile, which is important for those who are new to Agile and also for those who are already working in Agile. And let me tell you that Agile is one of those skills which is the most demanding skills in the globe. And if you really want to become one of those professionals who is into agile project management, or else you want to become a scrum master, or you else want to become a product owner, so these set of videos that we are making, these will definitely help you understand the basics of it, understand the core values of it, and will definitely help you perform in those areas. So before starting, please subscribe to the channel, hit that bell icon to stay updated. Let us know in the comment section below what your experience has been with Agile. As I always say, let's get started. Welcome back, guys. So today's video is going to be on Agile ceremonies. So these are nothing but events which help you drive Agile ways of working. Now, when I say that, it means that when a team is moving from waterfall to agile, then these are certain ceremonies which are conducted as part of it so that it's easy for the team to deliver a particular product, a particular change, or a particular feature. Now, if you want to understand how agile is different from waterfall, please do check out our series and you can definitely understand in much detail. So let's get started with this. So the first ceremony that we are going to discuss about is sprint planning. Now, sprint planning is something which is the first ceremony as part of the four ceremonies that we are going to discuss today. Okay, it's a time boxed ceremony. Basically, it is ensured that a planning is done within a span of 1 hour. It's an event which happens when our sprint starts. Okay, and the team determines the sprint goal, the sprint backlog items, right? All those things are finalized as part of the sprint planning. When we conduct a sprint planning, the major purpose or the major focus is on deciding what are the items that are going to be included as part of the sprint. That's why we call it sprint planning, right? And in this particular sprint planning, it's usually the scrum master, the product owner, and the team who decide it together. But primarily, let me tell you that the role in these sessions, the role of Scrum Master is to drive these meetings, is to ensure that he has the view of the capacity planning, that how many items can be taken up as part of the sprint based on the velocity of that particular team, right? The product owner's role is to understand or ensure that the team is clear about the overall functional process, about the items that are going to be picked up. The team has full clarity on what are the items. And finally, when all these things are done, it is the team's responsibility to ensure that they know what are the items they are taking, and accordingly they pull it into the sprint. So when it comes to understanding or finalizing the sprint backlog, it is always a pull process, not a push process. So the product owner or the scrum master, they are not the ones who push items into the sprint backlog. It is usually the team who pulls the product into the sprint backlog. So this ceremony is basically conducted for those discussions. So as you can see on the slide itself, that the activities that are usually conducted as part of the sprint planning are discussing the acceptance criteria. That is, when you define a user story or when you write a user story, there are certain acceptance criteria which are defined for each user story. That is, which means that those user story will be marked as completed only when we are meeting those acceptance criteria. So those are discussed as part of the sprint planning. We define the sprint goal as well, where we define which are the items or what is the actual target that we are aiming to once the sprint is done. So the sprint might be of a 2-week sprint or a 4-week sprint. So depending on that, what is the target or what is the goal that we want to achieve as part of the sprint. We work on removing dependencies. So the basic logic behind this is that in case there are any open questions or there are any queries which the team has, then it is the role of the product owner to make sure that team is clear about the functional understanding and also clear about the items that are going to pick up. We also do a sizing that is assigned story point value. So usually nowadays there is a combination of sprint planning where people also include the sizing. So whatever you're seeing over here is a mix of the theoretical and the practical. So practically, if you see, definitely yes, because when we are finalizing the stories, definitely we also size them and assign them a story point value, or the effort, how much it will take to complete that particular item. So that is definitely done as part of sprint planning. um, and as I already told you, that we also create the sprint backlog based on the team's velocity. So we, based on the team's velocity, we assess how many items can be pulled in into that particular sprint backlog, and accordingly we pull them. So this is about the sprint planning. Now let's go to the next session, which happens on a daily basis, that is the daily scrum. Now this session is a time boxed session of 15 minutes. This is not something where the product owner's role comes into play, because this is not a place where you clarify functional queries. It's mostly a session which is between the team members to understand where they are moving into, right? What are the tasks they have already completed, what are the tasks they are currently picking up, and also to understand if there are any challenges which the team might be facing. So basically, as you can see, the daily scrum is an event for the dev team, right, to reduce the complexity. Okay, so the main purpose of these scrum meetings is to have communication between the teams, identify any challenges or impediments, promote quick decision making, that is within that 15 minutes what decision you are able to make, solution you are able to give, so those things. And also it avoids other meetings, right? Usually we have seen earlier that we used to have hourly meetings, right, where long discussions used to happen, but now this is something which um, happens as part of agile. And ensuring that these time boxes are met is the responsibility of a scrum master. So the scrum master's responsibility is to ensure that all these time boxes, whatever I'm talking of, whether it be 15 minutes for daily scrum or 1 hour for sprint planning, is ensured by the scrum master. And once the time is about to get over, it is his responsibility to give a signal that yes, it is about to get over and we need to be fast. As you can see, it happens daily at the same time at the same place. And usually it's not something where product owner comes in. So dev team is mandatory, scrum master has to ensure that it is 15 minutes, but definitely there is no role of scrum master over here, because usually the discussions go around technical changes where scrum master's role doesn't come into. Primarily, there are three questions with the team members answer. Each team members answer. One is, what did we do yesterday? What are we going to do today? And are there any impediments or challenges which are blocking us? So those are the three questions which usually are answered as part of the daily scrum. Next comes the sprint review. Now, this is again a time boxed ceremony, and it is time boxed to 4 hours for 1 month sprint. So accordingly, you can estimate that usually the sprint duration is 2 weeks in most of the organizations, and accordingly you can say that you can have a sprint review call for 2 hours maybe. Okay, and this is a session which is primarily organized for the stakeholders, because this is the meeting where the entire team, that is a scrum team, which includes the development team, the scrum master and the product owner, they basically present the product that they have developed, or the feature they have developed, to the stakeholders and take their approval. Okay, so the team gives a demo on the product, and they will, and then at the end, the based on the stakeholders feedback, they will assess which items are to be closed, or are there any items which are yet to be kept open and they have to be moving to the backlog again, so that you can pick it up maybe in the next sprint or maybe the subsequent one. So usually it happens at the end of every sprint, right? Whenever all the activities of the sprint is already done, that is when we conduct a sprint review. Participants, as I already told, it's the Scrum team and the stakeholders. So Scrum team consists of Scrum Master, Product Owner, and the team. Okay. These are the activities which are conducted as part of sprint review. So presentation of review agenda, presentation of product increments, what product is happening, what product is developed. Okay. We take a feedback from stakeholders, and we also present the product backlog, so that you can and this is not a planning meeting, so we do not discuss the plan for the next sprint, but yes, we do present the product backlog to understand which are the priority items and which needs to be discussed as part of the next sprint planning. So this is where we have a short discussion on uh, the items which are to be given priority in terms of the next sprint planning. Coming down to the last session, now these 4 sessions which I am discussing, these are as per the Agile Manifesto. Okay, is the sprint retrospective. So usually this is time boxed to 1 hour. And as I said, sprint review is all about the product, right? What we developed or the features we developed. Sprint retrospective is mostly about the process. Okay, and this is not a meeting where external stakeholders are of any use, because this meeting is usually between the Scrum team members, that is the Scrum Master, Product Owner, and the team. So in this meeting, basically what we discuss is how to optimize the processes or how to streamline the process. Let's say in our previous sprint, we identified that there are certain areas where we are, let's say the team is consuming more time, or let's say we feel that if we can, find out a process in which things can be easily done, then we can save a lot of time. So if we are identifying some places which are blockers, or there are bottlenecks which are identified in the process flow, not in the functional flow, it's mostly on the process flow, then this is the meeting where we discuss. And in this uh, in this meeting, usually there are 3 questions which again the team has to answer. That is, what do we need to start doing what, stop doing what, and continue doing what, right? So these are the 3 questions which people usually answer, and based on the final agreement between the team members, things are formalized. Okay, and the effect is seen as part of the next sprint, where these all changes or these all agreements are brought into execution. Okay, so overall, this session is something that happens at the end of every sprint. So usually what happens, I mean, the last day of a sprint usually consists of the sprint review and the sprint retrospective. And during that time, that is when the stakeholders are presented, and post that there is a discussion between the team where they discuss about these things. Now, whatever sessions I discussed, or whatever ceremonies I discussed over here, as per Agile Manifesto. But what we have observed, or what we have currently been experiencing, is that in practice there are a lot of immediate or ad hoc requirements that come in, and many times we have to handle them. It's not always as smooth as I mean, it's not always as smooth like a simple requirement which is very clear. So you need to, I mean, in the middle of the sprint as well, you need to take out some time to understand or assess how your backlog looks like. And that is where the 5th ceremony comes in, which is a product backlog refinement. Now, since it is not as per Agile Manifesto, there is no time box as such to it. But yes, these ceremonies can be scheduled or can be conducted as and when the product owner feels like. And because it's usually the session which is driven by the product owner, where let's say a new item has come in, and we want to size it, or we want to prioritize it, we want to put it in the backlog, or maybe we want to give a short walkthrough to the entire team. So this is the session which is organized by the product owner and the overall team, including the Scrum Master and the dev team. They are the ones who are given a walkthrough of what the new change is and how are we going to deliver it, and what are the timelines for it, of course. So this session can happen once in a sprint, or maybe it might also happen multiple times depending on how many changes or how frequently are you getting changes from the your business stakeholders. So there are few things which happen as part of this ceremony. Number one is items are reviewed and revised. Okay, because since a new item is coming in and maybe it might be a high priority item, you might have to make changes to your backlog, right? New changes are handled and prioritized, as I said. They are also sized, because this, since it's an ad hoc ceremony and we are not waiting till the end of the sprint to size it in the next sprint planning. So usually this is the ceremony where we also size the new item that comes in. Okay, and suppose, let's say we are adding a new item, so definitely it's increasing our scope of work for that particular sprint. So many times it happens that you need to take out some existing items also, so that the pressure on the team is less and you can maybe carry it forward to the next sprint. So when that happens, you might have to pick that item up and push it to the next sprint. So that is also a case. So these are few activities which happen as part of product backlog refinement. Now, as I already told you, that agile is something which is based on some rules, guidelines, and if you follow them, definitely implementing agile and getting the most out of it is very easy for anyone who tries to do that. So we will be coming back with many more sessions. So the next topic that we are going to discuss in our next video will be on the agile artifacts. So stay tuned till that point and watch our agile series. If you really want to have a career in agile, let us know in comment section below. If you have any specific questions on agile, and definitely we can answer you in the comment section itself. Catch you up for the next time.